Rosie, my Uncle Bob spent a lot of time in the Philippines. He was in the US Navy and he brought back a couple of great recipes. This is one of them and you're going to love this. Well, it's got a bit of meat in it, but you'll love it anyway.
I'll love it anyway, don't worry.
What I've got is some beautiful grass-fed beef here and I'm using the chuck.
Okay, so what's that?
The chuck is from the neck, behind the neck here.
Oh, yep.
Now, there are a couple of muscles that do a lot of work, so they're sort of chewy. Right now, they're chewy.
Yeah.
But what you got to do with them is cook them nice and low and slow. And when you cook them low and slow, all the muscle fibres come apart, and that's when it just falls apart, and that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Now, it's in the tray there. What I'm going to do is put some salt on there, and you're going to grab that big pepper mill over there, because as you know already, salt loves meat, and meat loves salt. There we go. Tofu as well, and mushrooms. So I'm sort of equal with everyone. Now, lots and lots of pepper on there, all the way around it. What you want to do is season that meat. It's really important that you season that meat so the salt gets in there and it gives it its flavour.
I tell everyone that.
Exactly. I mean, even when you're cooking with vegetables or mushrooms or lentils, vegetarian food, you need to have salt in there because that's what helps to bring out the flavour. Rosie, you can see my pan is red hot. I've got the thermo spot here. Yeah. It's showing me that it's red hot. That's what you need. Now, what you can do is pop the beef in there, or what I would normally tell people to do is put olive oil into the pan and then put the beef in. But a little tip, this is a great way to keep nice and safe. I've got big chunks here of chuck, so what I'm going to do is put them straight into the pan like this, and you can hear there's some sizzle going on already. There we go. And now's the stage. What I'll do is I'll add some extra virgin olive oil to the pan, and you'll really hear some sizzle and frying going on.
Most people do it the other way, don't they?
Most people do it the other way. You can, but you risk splashing yourself. And when the pan's really hot, which is what you need, you've got to make sure you don't splash yourself. So we've got some salt in there already. We just need to add a little bit more salt just to make sure the underside or the undercarriage of the meat that we didn't season has got lots of salt in it. Now, while we're doing that, I've got some peppers over there and some carrots. I want a nice, large, chunky dice of the peppers. Okay. I've got some red, some green and some yellow peppers to give it lots of colour. Over here, I've got some garlic. And what I'll do with the garlic is give it a splash. Now, this is a braise or a stew. So I'm going to cook it for a good, 2 hours or so.
A bit of slow cooking.
Slow cooking, that's what it's about.
All the flavours come out.
Exactly. Now you're telling me. That's it. So all the flavours are going to come out. It's all going to marry together beautifully. And all the meat is going to be nice and tender. So I've got garlic, I've got onion, a couple of bay leaves. I've got some chillies here, some long red chillies. And I want to keep the colour and the size of the vegetables or the ingredients of the stew all together. I've got some thyme here as well.
Do you want it all to be the same, so it all cooks at the same time?
Sort of, but I just want a big, robust, hearty stew. Some thyme, I'm just going to cut it through the middle there like that. And the celery. What I've done is made sure I've washed it really, really well. And I just draw my knife down the end there. Rosie, that is fantastic dice. It's exactly the size that I wanted.
Thank you.
You've got it. You're doing really well with that. Now, what I'm going to do is just dice up this celery like this, all the way down here like this, down the end. And see, I've got a couple of the leaves in there. I just throw them in the middle.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter to me. Spring onion as well. What I'm going to do is just chop these into battens or large chunky bits. Now, if you're good with a knife, you can spend time getting lots of really nice shapes and things, but for just people hacking away, I suppose we'll call it hacking away, doesn't it? You just chop it into lovely bits. There we go. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is, this is browning off nicely, and what I'll do is I'll show you, Rosie. I'll turn this over, and you can see that colour. It looks really, really good. That brownness, that even colour. And the tip is to not put too much in at any one time. Now, pot over here, Rosie, have a look at that. Nice big pot.
Lovely.
We're feeding a lot of people, so what I'm going to do with this pot...
We always are.
Exactly. Well, we could be just for you and me or just for me, but a great thing about this sort of dish, you can make it in large amounts, and it's going to feed a lot of people. And to do that, you, of course, need a large pot. So what I've got, big pot here, lots of extra virgin olive oil to bring out the flavour. You're loving that? Can you smell that already?
I really can.
I know you're not a beef eater, but you get the idea of that sort of smell.
I can appreciate it. It's not something that turns my stomach.
Here we go. Now, what I've done is put the oil, the garlic and everything else in there. There we go. Now, I'm just going to reach around. One of the tips, if you are working with someone on a chopping board, wait till they're finished cutting before you reach across and grab all the stuff. So in goes all the carrots.
There you go, Chef.
I'll just keep those peppers aside because we'll put them in at the last minute. There we go. In goes all this stuff. I've got some salt going in there as well and a good twist of pepper. Now, Rosie, what we're going to do is brown off the rest of this beef and give the vegetables time to sweat off nicely. And by the time we've browned this all off, we'll be ready to add the rest of the wet ingredients or the liquids, flavour it all up, get the lid on it and get it cooking. Okay, Rosie, you can see all my meat's browned up beautifully. And what I do is I pop it onto a plate here on the side just to rest. If you were using one pan or one pot, what you would do is do the same thing here and then start all over again. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is just reach across here, bring my pot in here, and now I can add all my beef straight into the vegetables that are being sweated down. Now make sure you get all the juices in there as well.
We're feeding an army, aren't we?
It's always like feeding an army. Well, this is my my uncle's dish, isn't it? He fed all the people in the Navy, didn't he? So in go the potatoes, which I've chopped into nice big chunky dice. They'll help to thicken it up a little bit. Now I need some liquid because this is the stew. I'm using a stewing pot, so I need to have it all in there. Some wine goes straight in there. I've got a good, cup and a half of white wine goes straight in there. And of course, some beef bone broth. That's what'll give it lots and lots of flavour. In goes some tomato passata, or if you wanted, you could grab a couple of tomatoes from the fridge, chop them up and throw them in. So in goes the broth. You can see it's quite gelatinous, and that tells me it's a really strong, powerful stock. So in it goes like that. There we go. All the way in like that. And then all I need to do is stir that around a little bit, and you can see as that bone broth melts, it actually fills it up to the top. So take that over there. Now what I'm going to do, Rosie, is pop this lid on the top, and you can see this lid has got all these little spikes. It's not for doing this. The idea of this one is all the little condensation goes straight back into the pot where it belongs, so all the liquid or the juice or the flavour stays in the pot. What I'll do is let this simmer away nice and low for about an hour and a half, and once it's simmered away, I'll know that the beef is cooked. I'll have a little check of it. Then we'll pop those peppers straight in there, let them cook for probably 10-15 minutes so they stay nice and firm. Then I'll be able to serve you up my uncle's braised beef Filipino style. Rosie, this has been cooking for about an hour and a half, and you can see that it's just
gone a lot darker, hasn't it?
It has, and you can see the fat and the oils come to the top. That's important. That actually carries a flavour. It's really, really nice. And the most important thing for me, and this is how I know that it's done, is I can just touch the meat. You can see I just touch it really, really gently there, and it wants to fall apart.
It wants to fall apart,
The trick is to let it cool down in the actual stew, and if you want to reheat it later on, you heat it all up together, but this is perfect just like that. So what I'm going to do is pop some of this into the plate here. Hopefully I won't spill it everywhere. You can see some of the potatoes broken up a little bit.
Good amount of veggies in there as well.
There is. And if you want, you can hit it with some fresh herbs right at the end, and I'll put some on as a bit of a garnish. But some of the stew here, the potatoes, the vegetables, lots and lots of good stuff in there.
It's like a meat and two veg Filipino style.
Well,
a nice, warming, healthy broth.
I found another piece of veg there, which is a carrot, so that's even better. So I'll pop that down there. There we go, and the front there. Now, one of the things we always do is just wipe the side of it. It just makes things so much nicer. And then, of course,
if something looks good, I bet it's going to taste a bit better as well.
Exactly. If it looks good with your eyes, it's going to taste good. That's what I always say. Bit of parsley, a bit of dill on there. Looks perfect like that. And I'm going to tell you how delicious it is. All those spices, all that flavour. The meat, the grass-fed meat is going to flavour the whole thing.
Just simple, wholesome food, isn't it? You know, having a broth there, helping you out, bringing even more flavour is just a wonderful thing.
There we go. A little taste of that beef there. It's nice and tender. Look at that.
It's a very wholesome dish. I mean, I could use eggplant or even mushrooms as a bit of an alternative to have a nice slow-cooked stew that's going to be very warm, very wholesome, very filling.
They would be great alternatives, but they wouldn't be beef. But they'll come close.